Started off with a banger.
Should we disclose that?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you're okay with it?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes, and you're listening to the Business Bootcamp Podcast. A big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Gusto. If you haven't already, go to gusto.com/bootcamp. If you do any sort of payroll and you want to get away from writing out checks on every Friday, definitely want to check out Gusto because you can have an online mobile app for your employees to clock in and out of and then write checks to them virtually, ACH, directly into their bank account. All automated. So check it out today. Go to gusto.com/bootcamp and try it out for free for 90 days. But today I'm talking about incentivizing your employees, and I'm specifically looking at Stephan and the way that he has done a profit sharing program with his what used to be intern, now employee, which is Jack. So if you don't know who Stephan is, he is a YouTuber that makes a whole bunch of financial content and giving a lot of advice, as well as just looking at the market and real estate and stocks and all the rest of it. He's recently made a few new channels, including the Stephan Show, and most recently the Iced Coffee Hour, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of. And recently they've had some really high quality guests, especially if you're looking to make a YouTube channel or make money online. So recently they were interviewing one of their guests, and the topic came up of how much money is given to Jack, the employee of Graham, when it comes to the Iced Coffee Hour. So the Iced Coffee Hour is actually their third or fourth channel. I think it's their third, because then they made the fourth, which is the Stephan, which sounds like they're going to change the name of that show. However, when it came to the Iced Coffee Hour, that was completely Jack's idea, and how he pitched it to Graham was like, hey, look, just show up to the interviews, I'll set everything up, I'll set up the sponsors and all the rest of it, and then I'll get a cut of all the revenue. And at the beginning, he was making 15% of all the revenue from the show. Now, I'm going to talk about why in just a minute, why this might become problematic, giving a percentage of the revenue, but just hold on. At first, he was getting 15% of the revenue from the show, and at first, the show was making like $750 per month. Okay, so this is the first couple months. I think the first 7 or 8 episodes. We're gonna watch the clip in just a second of them actually talking about this. But then let's go ahead and see what happened after they changed that percentage to 45%.
Am I allowed to ask this? But what's the split on the
have we ever?
Wow, we've never disclosed this publicly.
You know, how about this is the first time we've ever said that?
And this is across the board between sponsors and ad revenue. Everything that this channel generates and all the expenses are split with this number. It started out, I think I had in the beginning, 15%?
I think it was 20.
No, it was 15. And then we moved it up to 20 because you saw how much work I was doing with each episode, providing the outline and everything. Yeah. And then when I dropped out of college...
Oh, I didn't get my outline,
that was it.
Yeah. Where's my outline?
Oh, your outline?
Yeah, I don't think you did it for this episode.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Might have to cut his commission back a little bit.
So I got lazy.
We had it at...
Okay, so it started at 20?
15.
It started at 15. Those first few episodes were just Jack and I talking. And Jack would come out with a list of questions to ask me, and it was just him and I for the first 2 or 3.
Yep.
Each episode was probably taking me at that point 12 to 14 hours.
Okay,
just between the pre-planning, which would be the pre-planning would be 3 to 4 hours, just literally researching fun money quizzes and stuff like that, topics we can discuss. And then also recording was an hour and a half or so, and then editing, it took me so long.
Editing a podcast.
It was insane, So probably 12 to 14 hours. And he saw how much work I was putting in, so he's like, I'll bump you 5%. So I was making an extra $70 a month. Pretty good.
So it's everything the channel brings in, whether it's a commission thing or AdSense.
Yeah.
At the time, it was really just AdSense, and we had no expectation. This was just Jack being like, hey, if we spend an hour a week, all you got to do is just show up, and I'll set up the cameras. Yeah. I was like, okay, for an hour a week, we'll do this. We'll get out a podcast.
And then it started growing a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when I dropped out of college, I requested a larger portion of the second channel, which I do a lot of work on that. And Graham he didn't want to give me that larger portion, so we decided
the second channel is the Stephan show.
Yeah. So we decided to roll that into the Iced Coffee Hour. So he's like, I'll give you a huge portion of the Iced Coffee Hour and a smaller portion of the second channel.
Little did I know.
Little did he know.
So back then, this podcast was making nothing.
It's probably $700 a month.
Maybe that, but Jack was spending 20 hours a week just through miscellaneous stuff. I was spending probably about 2 hours a week between titles and thumbnails. It was taking a long time, so that was basically a part-time job for both of us. And so I ended up giving Jack. You want to say it?
45%.
Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats.
I lucked out.
That's
Yeah.
generous.
And then
but
as soon as he gave me 45%, the
Oh,
channel
gosh.
exploded.
Oh,
It was so,
dude.
it was
And I gave him
amazing.
45% thinking, oh, it's, and I calculated how much money I thought the podcast would make. And I was like, okay, well, this is compensating Jack for his time.
Yeah.
And then within like a few months after that, we started
Just
getting on
loaded it up with sponsors.
Yeah.
Like
sponsors.
It really took
good
off.
So
guests.
you're going after the sponsors yourself.
So after the incentive structure was changed from 15% to 45%, they said that it was a massive uptick in the quality of content, the sponsorships, as well as just the overall revenue. And assuming if you take the numbers that they've been throwing around in terms of how much revenue the podcast has made already, it's making at least $10,000. I'm assuming probably more like $15,000 by the time you're watching this, but at least $10,000 per month in revenue, which means that Jack is literally taking at least $4,500 per month just from having this one show. Not in addition to what he makes as a wage, what he makes from all the other shows that he has with Graham, but at the end of the day, he's making $4,500 per month as an employee because he came up with a great idea to start the Iced Coffee Hour. So this really has bring up a great discussion about incentives and how we should pay our employees. And I've talked a lot about hourly wages versus salary versus doing profit sharing, or in this case, they're doing more of a revenue sharing program. Now, there's a couple things that I want to highlight. First and foremost, when you increase the incentive, when you move the incentive for the employee, guess what? It's going to move their attention. I can guarantee you, when this change was made, that all of a sudden Jack really made sure he got better sponsors, that he put more time into the edits, that he planned the interview questions better, that he made the set a little bit nicer. All of these things were done when the incentive structure changed. So for someone to think, oh, like, well, just pay someone a good wage and, find good people. That's fine, but you want to incentivize people to do a great job. That's how you're going to get the best performance. When it comes to P for P, the system we've created, pay for performance, it's similar to this model, and that is we give a percentage of the labor revenue that our employees make every single day. That's what they get. And that's kind of what Graham did here with Jack, is he got a percentage of all the revenue. Now, here's the problem. What happens as this channel grows to the point where they're making maybe, instead of $10,000 a month, they're making, $50,000 a month? At that stage, potentially now, Jack can't be working all the time. They're going to need to hire people. They're going to maybe potentially have to invest more into equipment. Then my question is this, and this is the challenging part with revenue sharing. How much is going to go to Jack? Is it 45% of revenue? Or is it going to be 45% of profit? Because this is very important. As the channel grows, if there are more expenses, if there's employees that are needed, the question is this 45% of $50,000, which is going to be like $22,000, does that go to Jack then? Or is it 45% of profit, which is after we pay any employees, after we pay for the new equipment, what happens if now Graham has to start spending a few hours a week working on the show because it starts to do so well? He's like, man, that's just a horrible thing. No, they'd be doing great. This would be a good problem to have. However, this is the problem that you might run into when you start setting up incentive structures too early in a business. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Obviously, for Graham and for Jack, this has been a great investment and a great move for the incentive program. But you've got to keep in mind that as your business grows, especially when you're really, really small, to set up an incentive structure, it might hurt the business as it grows. I actually almost gave away 10% of Augusta Lawn Care way back when to my first employee. Now that would have been a massive mistake because he would have had so much control as well as say in the business when he doesn't even work for us anymore. So that can be a problem. When you set up incentive structures too early in the business, just keep in mind what it's going to do for the business in the long term. If you're giving away revenue share, just keep in mind as your profits might get compressed, or you want to make investments in the business to lead to even further growth, like hiring another person to do videography for them, hiring someone to do shorts or cuts out of the main channel, and actually making a secondary channel just around the Iced Coffee Hour, which they already have done. Those are the type of things that would come out of the revenue, reducing the profit, and then potentially, if 45% is gone of revenue to Jack, well, then the remaining 55% might get squeezed as you get more expenses. So all of this to say, you've got to keep track of what your incentive programs are, realizing that incentives do absolutely move the needle. They absolutely make big changes in your business. Whatever gets managed, whatever gets tracked, whatever is consistently being shown in terms of numbers and data, that's what usually does well. And if you throw money at it and actually incentivize employees around a specific thing, they're going to do that. You just want to make sure that if you're giving incentive programs early on in the business, that you have enough foresight to know that down the road it might affect your business if you're giving away revenues, or you're giving away a percentage of sales, or any sort of thing that might hurt the business in the long term. I'm Mike Andes, and we'll see you tomorrow.